Hello beautiful internet family, Dan here from DansTube.TV, and I've had the Mavic Pro for just over 6 months now. So this is my updated review on the Mavic Pro 6 months later. If you are interested in the Mavic, then I do have a link in the description below to check this out on Amazon. It does help the channel out as well, so if you're interested, definitely check it out, guys. I also did create a before you buy the Mavic Pro, which is still extremely relevant. I put a lot of time and effort into that, and it was basically just my thoughts on the Mavic Pro at the time, and that was about a month after I actually picked up the Mavic itself. So this is now 6 months on, guys. So 6 months with the Mavic. I've had over 200 successful flights. I have flown for nearly 20 hours. I've racked up a total distance of 141,000 meters of flight distance, which is amazing. My top speed is 70.4 kilometers an hour, and I've had countless successful flights with some beautiful shots, amazing performance from the drone, and all of the intelligent flight modes have definitely served their purpose so far for me. I've used all of them and they're fantastic. Firstly, I would like to go through the things that I think can be improved, or things that I have an alternative for that have definitely made the experience overall better for me. So the first thing is flight gear. So that includes the flight legs and the body legs as well, which is near the back end of the drone. So it's a 3-piece set that you can get from eBay or Amazon or whatever else. And I've shown it in previous videos before, but it basically props your Mavic up a little bit more, just to ensure that your camera isn't going to be scuffing along the ground or along rocks or whatever. It just gives you a little bit more clearance, which is fantastic in tall grass or, like I said, rocks or different terrain. So works really well and something I highly recommend. The other thing is the gimbal cover. So you actually do have a brace at the back that holds the gimbal in place so it doesn't move around when you're transporting it. So I highly recommend holding onto that. For me though, I binned it because I clearly wasn't thinking at the time, but my friend actually made me a little cutout which holds the camera perfectly. You can also buy other alternative things online, but just be mindful that the gimbal itself, or the camera, does actually move when it's in the gimbal cover, so make sure you have some sort of brace to hold it back. That's something that I definitely did notice to be quite important for the longevity of your camera, especially in this situation. The other thing that I do definitely recommend is, even though with the Fly More combo you get a very cool bag that works extremely well, I would recommend picking up some sort of backpack or briefcase to transport your Fly More combo with all of the batteries and everything. I think this is something that is extremely important, especially something that's going to protect your drone itself. The bag itself that you get with the Fly More combo is great, but it isn't the most protective material in the world. So highly recommend looking into a more durable backpack or briefcase. They're definitely available and affordable online right now. The other thing is a sticker set. This isn't necessary, but the thing that I thought was extremely necessary, or something that I enjoy to have on my drone especially, is a numbering system. So I know what batteries I have used. So I've got 1, 2, and 3, and I know what I've used, and when I put them on charge, I know what order to put them in, what batteries to discharge, and it basically just gives my OCD a little bit of a rest. An alternative option to the landing gear is a landing pad, something that you can actually smash into the ground and have as a stable base for you to land on. Another thing that I use for all of my recent flights anyway would be a range extender, and I don't know 100% how well this thing works. I don't push the Mavic until the point that it's out of line of sight, but the range extender is just an additional kind of security for me. It's a security blanket to ensure that I'm doing everything possible to not lose connection to the drone. I always make sure that I'm facing the drone. I make sure that I do my pre-flight checks, and also during flights I'll bring it down and make sure that everything's running well, the motors aren't overheating, the battery's fine and everything. And these are really important things, something that you definitely should educate yourself on before picking up a drone. I will have all of the links in the description below to check out the products that I've recommended, I guess. I'll just have some Amazon listings for the landing gear, the landing pad, and all of those other accessories like the bag and whatnot that I recommended. If you guys are interested, it will be below though. Before you buy a drone, please realize that this is a serious piece of machinery. This isn't just a toy, so make sure that you look into the areas that you're allowed to fly in. There are apps called Can I Fly There, which is an Australian app. It's approved by CASA, so you can ensure that it's up to date and it's very relevant, and this just basically details all of the flight paths, all of the aerodromes, and where you can and cannot operate. There is also a magnetology app. This is very important to ensure that no solar flares are happening. A solar flare could bring your drone down. You could actually lose your drone and it could smash into the ground. This is something that rarely happens, but it's something that you really need to look into. It happens every year, it's just only a few times a year, so definitely educate yourself on that. Also look into wind conditions. There are wind compass applications out there that you can look into, and just kind of educate yourself on the situation before you even look into flying any sort of drone. Now that I've got all that out, I would now like to discuss the Mavic itself and the things that I really loved about this drone here. It is just such a beautiful piece of technology. So the first time you pick it up and hold it, you will be blown away with just how premium this thing feels. Everything about it is beautifully constructed. It only weighs 743 grams, it's tiny, and it folds away into a neat little package that is no bigger than an iPhone 7 Plus. You are getting roughly 27 minutes of flight time per battery. Now with the 3 batteries for the Fly More combo, I get around about an hour of flight time, so I get about 20 to 27 minutes of flight time per battery, depending on the conditions, of course. You can also control your drone from 7 kilometers away, which is overkill. There is normally a rule in most places where you have to keep your drone in line of sight, so 7K is overkill. You'll never need that. You normally operate very close to your drone, so you ensure that everything is safe and it's within arm's reach as such, well, so to speak, and just a little bit more controllable and understandable for people around you and the safety of others. So definitely very important to be mindful of that. The speed situation on their website, they say you only can get up to 65k, but I've recorded on my DJI app 70.4 kilometers an hour, so I was definitely flying with the wind in that situation, but 70k an hour in speed mode is insane. Well, in sports mode, not speed mode. It basically is just speed mode. It's so nimble and fast in this mode. The Mavic has obstacle avoidance built into the front-facing sensor, so that ensures that you're not going to smash into anything in front of you. Now, I would love to see in future iterations more sensors, of course. That's something that we saw in the Phantom 4 Pro, but having sensors on the front is actually extremely, amazingly, super-duper useful. I've noticed that when I've done a return to home before, the Mavic has actually sent stuff in front of it and changed its flight path to account for this. Now, that is amazing autonomous software built into the Mavic itself, or programming that's built into it. It's just amazing that it can sense something and alter its path, but still get to the same point that it was previously at. And the return to home is extremely accurate. It lands within about 5 meters of where you took off from. The image quality that is produced from the Mavic is honestly beautiful for something so tiny. The sensor on the camera is ridiculously small, and this thing can produce 4K images at 30 frames per second. One thing that you need to be mindful of when you are capturing images and videos is that you need to focus by tapping the focus button, which you can either map to the C1 button on the back of the controller, or C2 button if you prefer, and you can also tap on the screen to focus. This is something that's very important. If you don't tap to focus, the footage will come out very dull. It won't be sharp, and it won't really have a roundness to the image. It will just look very flat. So definitely make sure that you focus before you capture any videos or photos. The Mavic has a variety of different intelligent flight modes to offer the user. One of my favorites by far is the active track mode. This one you can actually draw around a subject, whether that be a moving boat, vehicle, person, whatever that is, and you can track that person using active track. It works really well. You can pan around the subject, you can profile the subject, you can just trace them or track them, however you want to go about it. There's a lot of options for the active track. You also have tap fly, where basically you just tap on the screen and it will start flying in that direction. You can set the speed and you can just get a consistent flight point and a flight speed, and that works really well. That's nice for just kind of moving shots over a subject, or just kind of a set point where you're trying to show a landscape. That works really well. You also have the gesture mode, which is kind of it's a bit iffy for me. It works, but I mean, I rarely use it. I would probably more so just use the actual set button to take a photo on my controller. That just makes so much more sense to me. You have a few other options. Follow me mode works really well. I do like follow me mode. It actually tracks your phone's GPS, and that works quite well. It just basically tracks you instead of with active track. You can track a subject in the distance or something else that's moving, but follow me, it just tracks your phone itself, which again has its purpose and works very well. tripod mode is fantastic. It slows down your drone so you basically have to get extremely stable, super smooth shots, and that works extremely well. I've used that quite a lot and the footage comes out beautifully. Overall though, the Mavic is just a powerhouse. It's tiny, it's extremely portable, it has some beautiful functions behind it, and the actual research that's gone into this, the amount of development and money that they've invested in creating a foldable drone that just works, it definitely comes through. You can see that this thing is built with love. Another thing that I'd like to mention, something that I remember thinking to myself 6 months ago, is the folding mechanism, the setup that they've got where it actually folds out like a Lamborghini or it swipes around the side. This works well and it does the job. It's beautiful, and I was curious how it was going to go after 6 months. Wear and tear, was it still going to be as snappy and as solid as it was when I first got it out of the box? And honestly, yes, it really is. I'm amazed at how well these systems work. I can fold my wings out and it still has that solid feel to it. It doesn't feel like it's worn out at all, which is amazing. After all of those times that I've been unfolding it and taking it out to fly, I haven't had any issues. That's amazing to me. That's great engineering, great development, and premium materials have definitely been used to create a solid drone that is going to last me years, I hope. It's a beautiful thing that I have enjoyed for so many months now. It's a hobby of mine that I do regularly, and I think honestly, if you have the money, if you have the time to invest in this, and you definitely want to look up the rules and everything, then this is a smart investment for something that can definitely get you out of a tough spell. It's a great kind of mindfulness exercise. It's something that you can enjoy. It's a hobby. It's something that can be social. It gets you out into the environment. You definitely explore a lot when you have a drone. I notice myself looking into places that I can go next, and the Mavic is probably the best choice right now for a consumer. You have the Spark, the DJI Spark, which is great, but I mean, I honestly think the Mavic is the best consumer grade or prosumer grade, really, considering the quality of the camera is beautiful, drone right now on the market. It's just a solid piece of machinery mixed in with solid software and a great team behind to back up such a solid product. So honestly, the Mavic is a great thing. I love how it operates. I love just what it can do for you as a filmmaker, or just as someone that wants to explore. It gives you a whole new area to explore. You can explore anywhere now, really. Your possibilities are limitless, which is beautiful to me. It's something that it can just create such an open mind for you to explore the world. Anyway, I honestly think this is a perfect travel companion as well, and if you have the money, look into the Mavic. This is a great investment. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. 6 months later, I am still as happy as I was the day I picked this thing up. I absolutely love it, and I can't wait to fly more. So thank you so much for watching. Make sure to have a splendid day, and peace out.